social media efforts will determine the overall health of your digital marketing. The data is your map. Without it, you're flying blind. You'll be using your data to improve your experience. Listen for untapped opportunities and pull the plug, if you have to, on any failing ideas. The amazing thing with digital marketing is we can track just about every action a user takes. There are a number of tools available that help marketers understand both the qualitative and the quantitative. We can track what's happening now and even model what is likely to happen in the future, and how we can capture data within our three medias: paid, owned, and earned. So the easiest place to start is with your own website. Here, you can track how many visitors you have, where they're coming from, what pages they're looking at, how long they've stayed on your site, and even what page they left on. By reviewing your analytics, you'll get a sense of how your users found your site, if they're finding what they want on your site, and if your advertising objectives are driving a meaningful amount of traffic. With a resource like Google Analytics, you install a tracking code on every page of your website. And from there, you'll have a gold mine of data to leverage, segment, and correlate. For example, if you made a change to your website design and noticed that on that day, web traffic dropped dramatically, you'll have a sense of where to start looking for the problem. If you roll out a new landing page, you might see an increase in conversions resulting from that specific page. Or you may see a sudden spike in traffic, and by drilling into it, you can identify the source. Say, a social media post, a mention, or even an online blog that linked back to you. Now, your paid analytics are typically tied to a reporting platform provided by the tool that you're using to run those ads. And this data is extremely useful, as it can give you granular details on which ads are working, what targeting makes the most sense, and more. However, you'll want to track as much data as you can in another tracking tool independent of that provider. This way, you can check the accuracy and evaluate things from different perspectives. Also, you want to track conversions in both platforms. And this works by installing a small pixel on your conversion page which informs the platform that a sale has happened. So if you have an advertisement on Facebook, for example, driving traffic to your landing page, you'll want to track data in both Google Analytics and the Facebook advertising platform simultaneously. This way, you can compare the data, identify any discrepancies, and test if your conversion pixel is actually working. Now, the final part of our measurement will come from earned media, and this one is typically the most difficult. Here, your outcomes aren't necessarily determined by spend, but how interesting people think your product and services are. Here, you're tracking things like your social media fan base, likes on your Instagram posts, mentions and interactions on tweets, and video views on YouTube. You may have many dashboards that you collect this data in, and you'll want to look at it alongside all of your other advertising metrics. The best way to measure results with earned media is to have your own goals and objectives that you can measure against. So if, for example, you decide that 10,000 Instagram followers would increase your revenue potential by $1,000, then you can track how you're trending towards that goal and measure it against the effort that you're investing. There's an endless amount of data providers out there. Investigate them against your needs and keep a system in place that provides you with the necessary checks and balances. I find interpreting your data becomes easier and more meaningful if you understand the pieces that make data collection possible. Every action you take on the web is tracked, one way or another. The pages you view, the files you download, and even demographic and interest data can be recorded. And this data is captured through the use of what we call cookies and pixels. A cookie is a small file that a website stores on your computer. And this file might contain the pages you visited and when, a unique identifier, and even if you're authorized to view certain content if you're logged in. Typically, a cookie doesn't have much identifying information. The website itself will store its own corresponding file, and then it matches your cookie to the records on the server. And this is useful for knowing whether a visitor is returning for the second time, how long between visits, and even what advertisements they've clicked into. And speaking of advertisements, ad platforms such as Facebook or Google use cookies to identify the same user as they browse around the web. So you can see an ad from Google on the New York Times website and another ad from them while you're browsing on a food blog. As you continue to browse the web and load advertisements from the same publisher, they'll see a list of the type of sites you visit and how you interact with these ads. This information can then be used to sell ads that you're more likely to engage with. So beyond cookies, we have the tracking pixel. And a tracking pixel stores information on your web server, not your computer. A pixel is really just a one-by-one transparent image, and they're often used to see if users convert after visiting a particular ad. Here's how they work. The server stores a small file, call it pixel.gif. And every time the server asks for the file, it's going to log that request. Now, instead of just asking for pixel.gif, we'll instead add custom variables to the request. Say pixel.gif, ID equals 123, and so on and so forth. The server will be successful in delivering the image because all the extra text is irrelevant, so the user doesn't see any issues, but it does keep a log of that unique URL, and it can use those variables to then match that transaction back to a particular user or advertising event. To put this another way, let's say you click on an ad to buy movie tickets. As soon as you click, you're going to receive a cookie, and the cookie will include information on the time, where you clicked, what banner was clicked, and so on. Now at this point, the advertising platform knows that the ad received an impression and a click, but it has no record of the sale. So now, let's say you continue on and buy those tickets. On the confirmation page, the website is going to read the cookie on your computer, pull the information from it, and send it back to the server through the conversion pixel. And now the advertising platform will connect the dots and indicate a sale for that ad. We'll talk more about how these sales are attributed later. Now, there are some other factors, such as how long it's been since the click, if the click came directly from that last click, or maybe a user saw an advertisement and then purchased without actually clicking. But again, more on that later. I could go deeper and deeper into the technical aspects of how cookies and pixels work, but the truth of the matter is, you really don't need to know all the nuances. With this high-level overview, you'll be able to make sure yours are set up properly and tracking the right information. As you expand your marketing efforts, tracking will be essential in measuring what is and what isn't working. Now, I highly recommend that you set up Google Analytics. There's a great foundations course right here that can get you up and running. Now, I'm not going to dive too deeply into analytics, but I want to give you a quick overview and leave you with one thing that you must absolutely be doing. Now, I'm already logged into Google Analytics, and if you aren't familiar, all of the data is organized into what are known as reports. And you'll navigate your reports here on the left-hand side. Each report lives under a category. In this case, I'm in the audience category, looking at the overview report. I can toggle out of audience, and we can see acquisition reports, and that's going to show us where all of our traffic is coming from. We also have behavior reports, which is going to tell us what's going on within our site. And finally, conversion reports, which let us know about the conversions that happen. That could be a sale, or somebody filling out a lead gen form. Let's take a look at this acquisitions report. Google lets you filter through all of your data by metrics and dimensions. Dimensions describe characteristics of your user. Say their traffic source, for example, organic search, social, or direct. This can also be their browser, their city, or even the landing page that they arrived on. Metrics are the quantitative measurements. This is going to be the number of users, sessions, their bounce rate, or even the revenue on a particular goal. Now, you can interact with all of your website data within Google Analytics, but The more that you start using Google Analytics and the more that you're doing marketing, you realize that the two need to connect. You need to bring in your tracking from your marketing efforts into Google Analytics. Google has the ability to add what's known as custom parameters on top of your URLs. We call this UTM tracking. Now, UTM isn't short for anything relevant to marketing. It simply stands for Urchin Tracking Module. And this goes back to Urchin Software Corporation, which was acquired by Google back in 2005 and was the first foundation for Google Analytics. Now, the goal of using tracking is that we can tag any marketing effort and immediately understand the value. Let's say you publish a tweet and you want to measure the result of it. Well, you could go into Google Analytics and look at traffic arriving from Twitter. In this case, I could click into this social report and then directly into Twitter. And while this is somewhat helpful, it's not very accurate. I can't be certain what on Twitter is driving this traffic. Was it a tweet that I made? Was it a tweet that someone else posted? There is no visibility into what is going on here. Now, you could perhaps bring in a secondary dimension of, say, a landing page, and you could identify that the page that you tweeted about is now driving traffic from Twitter. But that too can be fairly inaccurate. What you want to do is instead create a campaign for each marketing effort. And then you'll tell Google when a user arrives to make sure that they tag that user with the appropriate campaign data. So if I were to push a tweet out, I could add a campaign tag to the end of that URL called, say, Twitter promotion-615, meaning the date, or anything else descriptive for that matter. Now, the tracking is easy to add to any URL, and it will override any default tracking that Google has, such as the source and the medium. So the basic tracking tags that we can add to our URL are UTM_campaign, UTM_source, and UTM_medium. And the way this works is that each of these will be referencing a value that we provide. This lets us tell Google exactly what we want it to capture. And we're going to place these variables at the end of our URL. So let's say that we have the URL mysite.com. And now we want to track all of the clicks that arrived from an individual tweet. The first thing that we would need to do is add a question mark at the end of the URL. So we'd have mysite.com ? And this tells Google and the browser that our tracking is coming next. Without it, your URL won't take the visitor to the right place. After the question mark, we can add in the parameters, which is all of the tracking data. And that question mark really tells Google, hey, the tracking data is about to come. So the first thing that we would do is add UTM_source equals Twitter. And this is telling Google, hey, the source of this traffic is Twitter. Now, you could name the source whatever you wanted, but in this case, it's Twitter, so we'll leave it as such. But if you had your own source, say a certain blog, you could add that there. Next, we're going to add our medium. And in this case, the medium is social. So I would add the ampersand for UTM_medium equals social. Now, this URL should be all one long line, and I'm going to show you that at the end, but I just want to break it down for you so you can see the various steps. So now we have UTM_medium equals social. Finally, we need to apply our unique tracking campaign. And this is really going to help us identify which tweet or advertisement delivered that visitor. So we're going to add another ampersand, followed by UTM_campaign equals, and then whatever campaign name you want. In this case, I could put offer. And you could put offer hyphen or offer underscore, just don't use spaces. So the full URL that I have here is mysite.com, UTM_source equals Twitter, and UTM_medium equals social, and UTM_campaign equals offer. Now, if you need help putting your URL together, there is a tool for that. I'm going to go to google.com and simply do a search for Campaign URL Builder. I'll select the link here at the top, Campaign URL Builder, and here is a great resource that Google provides, and it allows you to build the URL. So we can put in www.mysite.com, source equals Twitter, medium equals social, and campaign name equals offer. You'll notice that there are other variables available to you. And here at the bottom, we can see exactly how that URL should appear. Now, once you're using campaign tracking on your URLs, you can view the campaign reports in Google. Let me show you how that's done. Here under the Acquisitions tab, I'll choose the Campaigns option and select All Campaigns. And here we can see all of the campaigns that we've added using our custom UTM tracking. You can select into a campaign, which will show you the source and medium that you used within that campaign tag. And this is helpful because now not only can we track all of that back to that campaign, but we can also look at the transaction data associated with that campaign so we can know if it drove any meaningful goal completions. I highly recommend that you use campaign tracking as a way to bring in even more granularity to your reporting. As people come to your site, they'll likely have many actions available to them. They can read information, click on links, watch a movie, and so on. You, as the business, however, are hoping that they perform certain actions in particular, and those are your goals. Those goals could be to fill out a feedback form, sign up for an account, download a white paper, or buy something from your storefront. Goal conversions are a great way to see if your marketing efforts are paying off. And because the web is so trackable, we can configure Google in such a way to see when these goal conversions actually happen. Now, you'll need to be using Google Analytics to do this, and I'm already logged in. And once you're in Google Analytics, you'll find your goals by selecting the Conversions heading on the left-hand side, and then Goals from the drop-down menu. I'll select Overview to view this report. Now, once you have goals set up, they'll look a little like this. I can see the goal completions, their value, the conversion rate, abandonment rate, and so on and so forth. Now, these are goals specific to an e-commerce store, but you can set up a goal for just about anything that you want to track. To begin configuring your goals, you'll need to go into the Settings option on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And from here, you'll find Goals in the third column under View. Now, I'm logged into a demo account. In order to set up goals, I'm going to switch accounts, and I'll do that by selecting this drop-down in the first column and toggling over to my account. I'll select goals again, and that'll bring us to the area where we can see the goals that have been created, as well as the option to create a new goal, which is the red button in the upper left-hand corner. The first thing we need to do is identify the type of goal that we're going to create. Google has a variety of options. It could be a revenue goal, where someone places an order, an acquisition goal where someone simply creates an account, an inquiry goal, or even an engagement. You also have the ability to select a custom goal, but for the sake of this, let's simply select an inquiry goal. Somebody has decided to contact us. From there, I'll choose Continue. Next, we have the ability to give this goal a name. Now, Google has autofilled this as Contact Us, and that's fine. We can also select the goal ID and slot. This is a little bit out of the realm of what we need to configure. You can just go with what Google defaults to. And then we need to select the type of goal. The first is a destination type. And this is where we give Google a specific URL that will confirm that our goal has happened. So when that URL is hit by your user, Google's going to say, okay, I saw that this URL was triggered. It is part of this goal, and I'm going to log this hit on this page as a successful goal completion. Now, more often than not, this will be a thank you page or an order confirmation page. Now, if your goal page can be reached, even if someone hasn't actually completed a goal, then this value will be wrong. It'll be artificially inflated. So keep that in mind when you select your URLs. The next option is duration, as well as pages or screens. Options are very useful if, say, you're running a blog, and you're going to feel successful either by how long someone has spent on the site, or perhaps if they've read 3 or 4 articles. Now, if I was driving paid traffic into my blog, this would be a way that I would measure the value of that spend. If I was spending $1 per visitor, I'd want to know exactly how much value I'm getting out of that dollar. Now, the last type is the event type. And this one's a bit more tricky to set up. You can have goals that are triggered on special events, but you'll need to program that directly into your site, and I won't be digging into that. Let's simply select destination as our type, and then we'll choose Continue. Next, we simply need to add in the destination URL. Now I'm going to select here, but instead of entering in the full path, for example, www.mysite.com/thank you, you're just going to use /thank you. Now, if you have multiple pages that are named the same, then you would include the directory prior. So it could be /leads/thank you, for example. And on the left-hand side, I can choose begins with, equals to, or regular expression, which is a little bit more complicated. But if you use begins with, let's say, for example, you have many thank you pages. You could simply say begins with thank you, and then if you had thank you dash lead 1, thank you dash lead 2, for example, Google would accept those all as one goal event. Now, another reason to use begins with is if you have unique parameters that appear at the end of the URL. Say checkout.html ? Describes the goal. To add up. As you begin to optimize your online marketing efforts, you'll need to start any data retroactively. So be sure to set them up from the start so you can immediately begin to optimize your conversion performance. We talked earlier on key performance indicators, or KPIs, but I think it's important to take a minute and go deeper, especially as you evaluate your strategy around online analytics. Your analytics will have all the information of what's going on. Search engine optimization is all about impacting how visible your website is in a search engine's organic results. You'll be making changes to your site's technical setup, as well as the content on the page in an effort to improve rank. To better understand optimization, let's start by looking at how search engines work. A company like Google will have a bot, basically a software program that crawls the web. It does this by following links from your site to other pages on your site, and links from one site to another. The crawler arrives at a page, reads the code, and stores the information. That stored information is called the index, and your initial goal is to be indexed by Google. If you're indexed, you'll rank. You might not rank well, but you have the potential for ranking. And when I talk about rank, I'm referring to which position you appear in when someone conducts a search query. So when you enter in a search term, Google will do its best to provide the most important and relevant answers and then rank them from best to worst. The better Google is at their job, the more likely you are to use them and the more money they make. So it's in Google's best interest to deliver the best content. And because Google drives a mind-boggling amount of traffic each day, it's in your best interest to rank well for relevant terms. Rank is determined by importance and relevance. A complex algorithm churns through hundreds and thousands of variables to decide where your page lands. Many of those variables are what you're aiming to optimize. Those variables might include the topics you're writing about, who is linking to your page, how your website is programmed, and even if you're mobile friendly. Google even evaluates the quality of the pages that are linking to you. If they're on brand, relevant, and popular, it's going to assume that you're more credible than if off-topic, unpopular pages are linking to your content. Variables that you can't control might include where a user is searching from, trending topics, and any current events that might be skewing the results. SEO done well can provide an impressive ROI. Done poorly, and it'll negatively impact your organic search efforts. In this chapter, we're going to dig into the fundamentals of good SEO and how you can improve the chances that your page ranks well. Truthfully, SEO is an ongoing effort. There isn't one specific tactic you can implement at the start to succeed at the race. It'll require many factors to be evaluated, tweaked, and then refined. With that said, there's still a handful of variables that are absolutely essential to your success. I'm going to focus on these key areas for now to give you a foundation for your continued effort. So first off, Search engines are built around their ability to index pages, so it's very important that your site is accessible to crawlers and that crawlers can get to every page on your site. Search engines love text. It's the easiest for them to parse. If you're using images in replace of text, then you too will have a problem. Search engines love clicking links. If you've got your links tucked into a custom JavaScript navigation, well, your crawlability might be impaired. So as you look to your site, make sure you have at least one regular text-based hyperlink to every page throughout your site. And it's usually best to build a flat site hierarchy versus a deep site hierarchy. To help understand this, let's look at a flat hierarchy. Here, you can see our homepage at the top. And then the links that we have on our homepage are represented by the second line of pages. These might be things like About Us, Services, Locations, and Contact. If we had, for example, multiple locations, we would place those under the Locations page and create a unique page for each one. A deep structure looks more like this. As you can see, some content is buried deep within the site. This means a user has to click more times to arrive at the same content. This also means that Google has to travel further through the site in order to index that content. And the further that Google goes, well, the less value it's applying to each page. It simply sees them as less important. One other thing to pay attention to is siloed content. In this sitemap, you'll see that we have a page and its subpages are off to the side. Here, there's no direct link from the homepage, or any page for that matter, to get to that content. This suggests to Google, if it could even find it, that it's not important at all. There are some exceptions to every rule. In certain situations, there's simply too many categories to show them all at one level. In other cases, showing specific topics too soon will just confuse your user. And users will understand your offerings much better if you include some intermediate category pages to help establish context. Focus on building a site that is easy to navigate for your users, with your most important content linked clearly and prominently. Next, be sure to look at how your URLs are named. It's a great idea to have natural language URLs free of any extensions. If you have an e-commerce site, a URL of clothingsite.com/men's/pants/denim jeans is going to be much better than clothingsite.com/product ID equals 1237AC. You get the idea? Along that same concept, be sure your title tags are unique to each individual page and they include a clear topic. Don't start your title tags with your domain name, simply put that at the end. Be sure each page has a unique meta description. Google often uses the meta description as the short text that is visible in search results. Don't just list keywords here. Create a meaningful sentence or two that will entice the visitor to click. Next, make sure you're taking advantage of heading tags. These are the H1, H2, and H3 tags. You always want your heading tags to appear in order on your page, and you should only always have one heading 1 tag. Avoid using your heading 1 tag to say things like About Us or Contact Us. Instead, focus on the core topic for that page. Check that every image on your website has a well-defined name and an alt tag description. No need to keyword stuff in these tags. Just make them natural and relevant to the user, and Google will reward you. Finally, be sure to use a sitemap, both in HTML and XML format, along with a well-defined robots.txt file. I really recommend that you sign up for Google Webmaster Tools. It's a great resource that will help you inspect the overall SEO health of your site. You'll find the free sign up at google.com/webmasters. Use that dashboard to review how many pages have been crawled and indexed, see a list of crawl errors, and identify any HTML improvements Google recommends for you. If you have a moderately sized site, check out the tool Screaming Frog SEO Spider at screamingfrog.co.uk. You can crawl your site just as a search engine would, see a list of any broken links, along with an output of all your heading 1 tags, meta descriptions, and title tags. Work through each page on your site to make sure it's technically sound. Whether or not you're planning on putting effort into SEO, you should absolutely have Google Search Console set up. Google Search Console is a free service offered by Google that helps you monitor and maintain your site's presence in Google search results. It gives you all kinds of useful information, such as what pages of your site has errors, how people are searching for your content, and more. Now, you don't have to sign up for Search Console for your site to be included in Google's search results, but doing so can help you understand how Google views your site and give you insights in how to optimize your site's performance in search results. Let me quickly show you how to set it up, and then I'll pull up an example of how it looks and how valuable this is once there's data in here. You'll start by going to google.com/webmasters and then select the Search Console button in the center of the screen. Once you're in here for the first time, you'll need to add the website that you want to configure in the box that's provided. I'll go ahead and enter hplussport.com. And then we'll select Add a Property. From here, we need to verify that we have ownership or the ability to look at the data for H Plus Sport. Google is going to offer you some ways to do this. The first is their recommended method, and you'll need to download an HTML verification file. You'll select this link to do that. You'll then need to upload the file right into the root directory of your site and confirm that you can see the file by selecting the link in step 3. If that page loads, you'll then select Verify below. Now, there are some alternate methods. I'll select the tab at the top labeled Alternate Methods, and you'll see which are available to you. You could instead add an HTML tag into the meta section. You can also log into your domain name provider, use your Google Analytics account, and use Google Tag Manager. Select the option that makes sense to you, follow the instructions, and then choose Verify to get this set up. Now I'm going to switch over to an account that I've already been using and show you how valuable this is. Now, once you're in Search Console, you'll have a quick overview on the performance of your site. This is showing you all of the clicks over time that are coming directly from Google search results. You also can see any issues with your index coverage. You'll see if you have any errors right away, as well as how many pages are valid. You'll also see if you're using any enhancements. In this example, this site is using AMP, and we can see that we have 4,442 valid pages and 2 with errors, and I can select in there to see what the errors are. Here on the left-hand side, I can choose Performance, and what this will do is show us all of the total clicks, total impressions, our click-through rate, and our average position. And you can interact with this data using filters at the top of the screen. So I can toggle in different date ranges, different search types, and I can even use the comparison feature to compare various items. Let's say, for example, I click New, I can choose Device, and now I can compare mobile versus desktop. So here we can see that the average position on mobile is 8, which is far better than our desktop site. We see that the click-through rate is about the same, and we can also look at the traffic and impressions between the two. Now, if you scroll down, you'll have the ability to see the queries that people are using to arrive at your site. You can compare that using the same filters up above. You can also look at pages, countries, devices, and more. On the left-hand side, I can also choose index coverage. And this is where we can interact with any errors that are happening on the site. Now, Google is still rolling out their new Search Console. There are many other features that exist in the old version of Search Console, which you'll get to by selecting Go to the old version. If I select into HTML improvements, we can see that Google's complaining about pages that have duplicate meta descriptions, short meta descriptions, duplicate title tags, and so on. If you select into any of these blue hyperlinks, Google will tell you all of the pages with those problems. You can also view your index status, any crawl errors and crawl stats. Here we can see how many pages Google crawls a day, how much data is being downloaded, and the time they're spending downloading this content. As you can see, there are tremendous resources within Search Console. So I recommend that you get it set up and that you look at it from day to day to see if you notice anything that you can improve. A big portion of SEO is choosing the right keywords to organize your site around. Keyword research will help you understand what people are searching for, and you can use this information to build your content or even steer your business when you're buying your paid ads. Now, to get an initial list of keywords, we'll start by thinking about our target audience. Let's put ourselves in their shoes and visualize them sitting in front of their computer. What are they thinking? What are they looking for? We want to arrive at what words they might enter into Google. And this is the list that you'll use as your starting point, and then we can work for there. Let's say, for example, we're selling carpet cleaning services. We have two strategies. First, we want to rank for terms related to our local office. So perhaps that's carpet cleaning Santa Barbara or carpet cleaners Santa Barbara. We might also want to write articles on topics that are most interesting to people, say removing stains from carpet or furniture. And to really know what to focus on, we should explore the popularity of those terms. If I knew that 10,000 people were searching for steam carpet cleaning Santa Barbara, and only 1,000 were searching for carpet cleaning Santa Barbara, I would definitely spend my effort writing content around steam cleaning. Likewise, if red wine stains are more popular than juice stains, we would know where to start with our articles. So let's look deeper into this concept. I'll start by visiting google.com and simply typing in carpet cleaner. Now, right away, when we start typing, Google is going to offer us suggestions, and this is incredibly valuable. These suggestions are what people are searching for. These are the most popular searches related to what we're typing. So we can see that the most popular search near me is carpet cleaner Santa Barbara, and these results are local, meaning if you were to run this search on the East Coast, you're going to see very different results. So we have carpet cleaner Santa Barbara, carpet cleaner rental, Santa Maria, machine, and various other cities. So let's say I add a space and now I type in the letter N. Right away, I'm getting a variety of ideas that I haven't even thought of before. For example, carpet cleaner natural, carpet cleaner non-toxic, carpet cleaner not spraying water. These are things that are incredibly important to my target audience. If I had a natural carpet cleaning solution, I might offer up a page on my website that targets that keyword. Let's start by typing in removing red, and right away, I see removing red wine stains, removing red wine stain from carpet, and so on. As you can see, I can use this to start getting ideas for my articles. I could type in removing wine stains. And now I see it's not just wine stains, but it's from leather, from wood furniture, from clothing, and so on. We can also change removing wine to removing juice, and now I see juice stains from carpet, juice stains from couch, from leather, and so on. I think you're getting the idea here. So this allows us to start building lists around ideas that Google suggests. Now, there are tools that can help automate this process. So for example, I can check out keywordtool.io, and I can type in removing juice and simply hit search. And I'm going to get a ton of search results related to this. This goes on and on and on. And this is a quick and easy way to start generating article ideas and keyword ideas for your SEO efforts. Now, you will have to pay if you want to see the search volume data, but I'm going to show you how to get that from Google in just a minute. So the next thing we need to do is look at the actual results. I'm going to go back to google.com and type in carpet cleaning Santa Barbara. We want to look at these results. We need to understand if they're related. Who are our competitors? What does it look like they're writing in their title tags and their meta descriptions? We might also just want to type in, say, for example, steam cleaning. We need to understand if this keyword is relevant to what we'd be writing an article about. Now, in this case, sure, the results are about carpet cleaning, which means that steam cleaning is likely related to carpet cleaning. But if we saw a ton of articles that were steam cleaning your appliances or steam cleaning your clothing, we might not want to focus on that term, and we would remove it from our list of keywords. So what we want to do from here is take all of these keywords that we've generated, either doing that manually through following AutoSuggest, by doing our own research, or using a third-party tool. Then we're going to take that list and put that data into Google's keyword tool, and that's available to you if you set up an AdWords account. I'm going to get there by going to adwords.google.com, and I'll log in with my AdWords account. Once you're logged in, I'll select the Tools icon in the upper right-hand corner and select Keyword Planner from the first column. And in this section, we have two areas. We have the option to find new keywords, as well as the option to get metrics and forecasts. Now, the metrics and forecasts are helpful for AdWords, but what we want to look at is this area labeled Find New Keywords. Let's type in a couple of the keywords that we looked at earlier. Now, Google's only going to allow you to add up to 3 keywords at a time, but we'll still see a ton of great ideas and look at their search volumes. From here, I'll choose Get Started. Right away, we see a list of ideas on the left-hand side, as well as a range of searches. I can sort this by selecting the column. So here we see all of the low volume searches, 10 to 100 average searches per month. And this is going to be keywords that we likely aren't interested in. I can sort the other way, and I can see a ton of very highly popular keywords, 10 to 100,000 searches per month. We also have the ability of seeing how competitive these terms are. This is another great way to look through this list and identify which keywords are not only relevant and valuable, but which ones are popular. Now, because Google has restricted this to only allowing you to type in 3 keywords at a time, this isn't going to be very helpful for your entire list. So you might want to use a third-party tool, and Moz has one called the Keyword Explorer. And you can find that at moz.com/explorer. Now, this is a paid service, but it works just the same. You can add a keyword or upload a list of keywords, and if you have an account, you'd be able to view the search volume for that keyword as well as all the other keywords you provided. You can also use a site like semrush.com. And what this will do is allow you to enter in your domain or a competitor's domain and see all of the keywords that they're ranking for. This is another great way to identify what's going on in the search world as either a way to create your pages or your articles. Remember, the more keywords that you're trying to target, the more effort. So prioritize them based on where you see the biggest value and start small. Optimize a few pages and then scale up as you find more and more opportunities. SEO is complicated, and it's nearly impossible for me to give you everything you need to know to succeed in this Foundations course. However, I want to walk you through a few important SEO audit steps in a very short time frame. This way, you'll know where to start, and you'll get a good idea of what's involved. From here, you can check out more courses on the topic and expand your SEO skills. Now, we're going to move fairly quickly, so if you feel lost, feel free to pause or rewind. And to speed things up, as you may have noticed, I've already opened up all of the tools that we'll be using in the tabs here in my browser. So let's talk about what our plan is. The goal of our SEO audit is to identify 3 main elements: how we're doing technically, how we're doing with our content, and how we're doing with our exposure on the web. For this example, we're going to be using the site explorecalifornia.org to perform our audit. So the first thing that I do is I open up the site and I simply take a quick glance at what's going on. I want to make sure the site loads and get a sense of how you navigate the site, what the content is about, and what the key information on the site is. In this case, I'm going to assume that Explore California is primarily trying to drive SEO traffic to individual tours pages. In that case, I could select any of these various options to learn more about each page. The other thing I want to do is identify any content that isn't text. So here I can see the headline is text, but this Find Your Tour button is actually an image. Therefore, Find Your Tour is not text that Google is seeing. If this was an important piece of SEO content, I might want to resolve that. I'll also open this up on my mobile device and identify how it looks and works on my mobile phone. Because SEO is primarily mobile these days, that is an important step as well. The next thing I like to do is identify what Google sees about this site. So I'll go to google.com and I'll run a query for site, and then my domain name. And there is no space between the colon and the domain name. If you put the www or not, it doesn't matter. But if you leave the www off, it may reveal some interesting insights. So right away, I can see that Google has indexed some content. There's about 12 results. And the first page looks good. It's my homepage. But now you'll notice that there's some strange things that Google has picked up. You'll see that they have services.explorecalifornia.org, and the headline is index of. And this suggests that this is content that I don't want on Google. I may also see PDFs or private data that I didn't intend for Google to find that they did find. So you always want to start by exploring these results. Now, seeing things like this suggests to me that we aren't doing a good job of telling Google what not to crawl. So from there, I need to inspect the site. I've gone ahead and opened up a tours page, and the first thing that I'll do is look around the page. I want to identify if all the main elements are in place. I need to understand if the content that I'm seeing in the Google index is being misinterpreted from this page. First thing I like to do is look at the headlines. These tend to be our primary keywords. In this case, I have one at the top, Our Tours, followed by another headline labeled Backpack California. Now, using Chrome on a Mac, I choose to right-click and then select Inspect, and here I can see that our heading 1 tag is Our Tours. If I right-click on Backpack Cali and choose Inspect, I see too that that is a heading 1 tag. Now, there shouldn't be 2 heading 1 tags. That's a red flag. And I also need to understand if this heading 1 tag is really a good keyword. Maybe there's something better that I should be doing here. Maybe this keyword should really be Backpack California. If I've done my research, I'd know what I need to put in my heading 1. Now, we also saw some content that was indexed that shouldn't be there. So I'll next check our robots.txt file. I simply put /robots.txt at the end of the URL, and here I can see that we don't have one of these files. And that's problematic. A robots.txt file tells Google and other crawlers what to do. We don't want the crawler wasting time browsing sections of our site that don't need to be indexed. So we need to disallow those sections here. Next, I want to look for sitemap.xml. I do that in the same way that I look for robots.txt. Here we can see that we don't have a sitemap here. Another red flag. A sitemap helps Google navigate all the sections of your site. It's an important component, and the fact that we don't have it here is not a good sign. So I'd make note that we need to create one. To show you what these look like, I've gone ahead and pulled up lynda.com's robots.txt file. You can see that they don't want Google crawling a ton of sections. I've also opened up their sitemap. Now in this case, they use a sitemap index. This tells Google that they have many sitemaps, and they exist at many locations, listed here. I'll select into one of those sitemaps to show you what this should look like. Here we can see all the information that Lynda is telling Google about every page on its website. This includes video sitemaps, indicating this is a particular website with a particular video. Here's the thumbnail in the video, the title, and so on. Next, we need to dive into the technical considerations. I start by running a mobile-friendly speed test, and I'll provide the URLs to each of these on the screen for you. What we do is we enter in our URL, and Google's going to tell us whether our page is mobile-friendly or not. Now, you'll notice something interesting. Google says the page is mobile-friendly, but the preview they show on the right-hand side doesn't look that friendly to me. Clearly, there's a problem here. You'll notice that there is a warning at the top of the page. Google says, I had some issues loading this page. If I select View Details, Google's going to tell me all about what's broken. It says it couldn't load these page resources, and these would be areas that we'd want to investigate. Next, I like to run a Page Speed Insights. You'll find that this will help you understand what you need to optimize to score better in Google. Typically, a score above 75 is going to be okay. Anything below that, and you really need to follow the instructions that Google's provided. Here we can see that mobile has an here, with a particular video of these on the screen for you. What we do is we enter in our URL, and Google's going to tell us whether our page is mobile-friendly or not. Now, you'll notice something interesting. Google says the page is mobile-friendly, but the preview they show on the right-hand side doesn't look that friendly to me. Clearly, there's a problem here. You'll notice that there is a warning at the top of the page. Google says, I had some issues loading this page. If I select View Details, Google's going to tell me all about what's broken. It says it couldn't load these page resources, and these would be areas that we'd want to investigate. Next, I like to run a Page Speed Insights. You'll find that this will help you understand what you need to optimize to score better in Google. Typically, a score above 75 is going to be okay. Anything below that, and you really need to follow the instructions that Google's provided. Here we can see that mobile has an exclamation point, and this means we have a problem. You can see the score is low. And Google's going to tell you all of the things that need to be fixed. Here, I can click Show How to Fix, and Google's going to tell me exactly what I need to do to score better. Google will also link you to their help docs, which will help you understand how to solve these problems. The top, I can toggle into desktop, and as we saw earlier, we see a preview. We want to make sure that that looks right to us, and we can also view the suggestions for desktop. From here, we'd pop into the Google Search Console and review all the errors there. Now, we took a look at Search Console earlier, so I'll skip over this. From there, I like to look for structured data. Structured data helps Google understand what's on your site. Now, if you're not using structured data, that's not necessarily a problem, but there is a lot of benefit in SEO to using it. Here, we can see that Google has not detected anything. This indicates that I might want to add structured data to help improve my SEO. To show you what it looks like when there is information, I went ahead and ran this search on a New York Times article. Here on the right-hand side, we can see that New York Times has identified that there's a news article on this page, and they've given Google all kinds of helpful insights. They're telling Google what the headline is, the description, the genre, where the article section is, and so on. Anything in red indicates a problem that you'd want to look at and resolve. Now, finally, we need to look at our actual crawl. And this is where I'll use a tool called Screaming Frog SEO Spider. This is a really powerful tool, and you can download it for free, although the free version only has limited functions. They do have a premium option, and it's worth every penny. To get it, you'll simply select Download from the SEO Spider dropdown. I've already downloaded the tool, so I'll go ahead and open it. What this tool does is crawls your website in the same manner that Google would, and it helps you identify problems. I've simply added our URL in the top and selected Start, and now you'll see an outcome of our results. This is bringing in every page and image, and it's been tested. It lets us know what the type of content is, in this case HTML, an image, CSS, a video. And here we can see the status. And you really want to see the number 200. That means everything's okay. A 404 means there's a problem. And that means that I linked from somewhere on my site to somewhere else on my site, and the page that I linked to doesn't exist. And that's a big red flag to Google, because it means that you're not totally sure what's happening on your own site. So if I select into a 404, you'll notice at the bottom we get helpful insights. We can choose the in links, we can see all the pages that this is being linked from, and the outlinks if we were linking out from this page. Now, there are no outlinks on a 404 page because it doesn't exist. But using the in link section, I can identify all of the pages that are linking out to this broken link, and I could go ahead and remove that or resolve it. What's also helpful is you can explore the content. At the tabs at the top, I can look at the page titles for every page. And this helps us because we know that we don't want duplicate page titles. And so we see the same page title over and over. And that would help me understand which pages I needed to resolve. Same thing with the meta description. We can see if the meta description is custom for each individual page. You can also check the length as well as the pixel length to understand if it's too long. You'll notice here on the right-hand side, this tool helps you understand where things need help. So I can click to duplicate, and it's going to show me all the duplicate meta descriptions. If there are some that are too short, I can select that option. If there are some that are too long, it would let me know here. We also have the ability to select into our heading 1 tags. And again, we can immediately identify that these aren't the right heading 1 tags. Therefore, I have a problem. I need to fix those. As you can see, this crawler is incredibly powerful, and there's a lot that you can do here. So take a few minutes and run through this quick SEO audit to see if you can find any issues that jump out at you. You'd be surprised at what a few tweaks can do to greatly improve your traffic. Without great content, you're lost to Google. In order to understand what's going on with your website, Google has to have some information to read. And it's going to read that information with a slight bias on keywords. So earlier, we looked at building a list of our important keywords, and now we need to make sure we have content written around those terms. And by writing content for our keywords, I'm not talking about blanketing the page with these keywords. Back in the late 90s, marketers were focused on these ideas around keyword density, title tag stuffing, and a whole slew of other tricks to try and win over a particular search term. Search engines are now smart enough to understand the relationship between words and phrases. So trying to reinforce a keyword unnaturally isn't going to help you. If anything, it'll impact your efforts negatively. So when you build your content, keep in mind that there is no magic number of words or times to repeat your term. Instead, build out information that brings the most value to your user. If you're going after a particular search term, it's because that term is popular to your user base, and using it naturally will be in your benefit. If you really need a formula, I'd stick with this. Have your keyword or a related concept in your heading tag. Include your keyword once, and maybe twice if it's not awkward, above the fold in your content. And then write supporting copy that includes related concepts and terms to give Google an indication of what the theme of the page is about. Remember, Google is smart. If you're trying to game the system, chances are you're just putting yourself behind. Take time to build content that is natural, easy to read, and a value add for your users, and you'll see Google reward that effort. If your business acquires customers locally, then you'll find value in investing in local SEO. It's similar in approach to traditional SEO, but it's biased towards businesses who draw that local customer. Now, there's a few extra steps you'll want to consider to help move your brand higher in your local search results. Let's do a quick search here on Google.com for a local company. Let's just type in Cupcakes Carpinteria. What we get right away are some unique results. Here on the right-hand side, we see this really rich result for a local cupcake company. And this is incredibly beneficial for their SEO. This draws a lot of attention and allows consumers to interact with it immediately. Let's try another search. I'll type coffee carpinteria. And here we see different results. Right away, Google pulls up a map page and shows us 3 local businesses. We see the name of the business, a photo of the business, the reviews, the hours, where they're located, and in some cases, a small line about what they offer. Now, local SEO is a fairly in-depth process, and there's a course right here that'll take you further into this if you'd like to know more. But let's walk through just the key highlights of the must-haves. The first thing is you need to set up a Google My Business listing. This is how you get the page that you saw earlier, as well as getting listed on Google Maps, which you see here. You'll do that at google.com/business. You'll simply choose Start Now and then follow the prompts to get your business on Google. Next, you'll need to review your citation and get listed in online directories. Your citation is your name, address, and phone number, and it should be listed on your site in the footer of every page. I'll show you an example at explorecalifornia.org. Here we can see that they provide their address, their city, state, zip code, and their phone number. How you write this information and share it should be exactly the same all around the web. Now, if you have multiple locations, that's okay. Simply have a locations page with all of your individual locations and make sure that the address and phone number for those locations is identical anywhere else on the web. Now, you can explore your citations across the web and get extra help through a resource called Moz Local. I'll find that at moz.com/local. Here, you can simply identify whether you have 1 to 99 locations or 100 plus locations. And you'll select this option and follow the instructions, and Moz will help you find all of those citations, and they can even help you update them all across the web. Now, this does cost money, but it's relatively inexpensive for the value. Now, let's go back to Google and rerun that cupcake search. So you'll notice here the reviews jump out to you right below the name of this business. And you could select this and read all of the great reviews and interact with the brand even more. Reviews and the amount that you collect help you display higher in search results. You can collect them on Google or Yelp, but you need to make sure that they're authentic and come in naturally. And again, if you're serious about local SEO, definitely explore this topic in more detail by watching my course on local SEO. There, I'll go much more in depth, but starting here with these 3 basic areas that we just discussed will be great in putting you on the right path. As you evaluate the SEO landscape, you might decide it's in your best interest to hire a professional. You can hire a resource to provide you with a list of recommendations or an entire team capable of executing on the strategy they develop. Search engine optimization has the potential to bring incredible amounts of traffic to your website. Because of this, it's quite possible that you'll see a return on investment if you hire the right professional and provide them with enough time to demonstrate success. There are hundreds of factors which determine how websites rank, and there isn't one flip-a-switch type answer. Because of this, SEO requires a lot of effort and a lot of experience to drive meaningful results, and this comes at a significant cost. So before you move towards hiring a professional, consider your budget. A typical search engine optimizer, I'll use the acronym SEO to refer to them, will charge to audit your site, to build the strategy, and likely a monthly retainer to track your performance and, if necessary, implement changes. For a medium-sized business, expect between $3,000 and $9,000 each for the audit and the strategy development. The implementation costs will be dependent on how much work is needed to achieve your desired result, but expect at least $1,000 a month for an ongoing retainer. The earlier you introduce your SEO to the project, the better. If you're about to redesign your website, implement a new technical feature, or add a product to your lineup, bring them on board so they can provide you with a strategy early on. It's never too late, but undoing bad SEO can add to the cost. I'm going to give you some questions to ask as you evaluate a consultant. But before that, let's talk about some major red flags that should always be avoided. First, true SEO professionals will not provide you with any guarantees. There is more to SEO than earning a number 1 slot. Firms that promote themselves by guaranteeing a number 1 rank for a certain amount of keywords are highly suspect. It's impossible to make that guarantee unless they're using shady tricks, which will only make things worse in the long run. Your SEO should provide you with an honest overview of the type of improvements you're likely to see. And these improvements can take several months to really kick into gear. Second, your SEO should not encourage you to participate in a link exchange or use pages of your site to include links to other sites under the premise that it'll increase your rank. All this does is build a link farm and further dilutes the authority of your site. Third, there's no such thing as instant results. It's alluring to see a $700 SEO special with an instant result guarantee. But real SEO takes a lot of work, and that expertise will come at a premium. If you can't afford a high-quality SEO, you'll find more success in self-studying SEO right here than paying for a quick-fix SEO agency. And finally, avoid anyone who claims to have a special relationship with Google or premium listing services. Google doesn't accept payment or provide anyone with a fast lane to SEO success. Now, some SEOs might have relationships or resources within Google, or they could be affiliated in one way or another, and that isn't a bad thing. Just know there isn't any special treatment or special inside knowledge. These are the major red flags. Fortunately, there are a lot of very qualified and talented SEOs out there ready to take your business to a new level. You can start your search on LinkedIn or even Twitter by asking your network for any recommendations. Talk with colleagues in similar industries to see if they've had success with an SEO. Some of the best referrals come from people who have had positive experiences with their consultant. Take a look at conferences and who's presenting. If the conference is notable, the speakers are likely vetted and a very good starting point. Even if they're out of your price range, they might recommend you to someone that they like. You can reach out via email or Twitter to engage in that initial conversation. As you build out your shortlist, and you should be getting quotes from a few parties to compare, take the following into consideration. Does the SEO have any relevant examples related to your industry? Has the SEO been in business for a while? How many years of experience do they have? Ask what tools and resources they use. They shouldn't have any problems being transparent with you and should at least suggest that they use Google Search Console or Google Webmaster Tools. From there, dig deeper into the qualities of the person or the agency. Get a sense of any reviews on the web, if they're contributing to their SEO education, and look at their LinkedIn profile. You're looking for people who have been in the related industry for a while. A lot of SEO firms will staff quote-unquote consultants who are really just fresh marketing graduates. Now, that's not always a bad thing. SEO research is fairly cut and dry. So long as the strategist seems qualified, they'll likely employ a qualified team. But it's worth knowing all the people who will be interacting with your project, because if you don't align with a particular person on the team, it'll impact your overall outcome. Finally, evaluate a person or team on their entire offering. Don't focus only on price or exclusive experience. There are a lot of expensive agencies that do terrible work, and there are plenty of well-studied beginners who can bring a lot of value to your process. Hiring an SEO is a big decision. The wrong SEO might make things worse, so do your due diligence and be thorough in your research. Online marketing has several benefits, but the biggest is the ability to target people with amazing granularity. Because search and display advertisements are served up digitally, we can measure exactly when a user clicked, where they clicked from, and what happens after the click. This data lets us change our marketing plan and optimize our ROI. Let's start by looking at search marketing. This involves placing advertisements on the organic results of search engines. These advertisements are sold on a pay-per-click model, so you don't pay for impressions, but rather an actual action. Let's take a look at some of these results by running a query here on Google. I'm going to look for glasses online. So you can see right away that we have paid ads here along the top and on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, search marketing is great because the searcher has expressed intent. In this case, I'm looking for glasses online. So these ads are very relevant to my needs. As a marketer, you'll create this custom list of words or phrases that you want to display ads against. Now, when you conduct a search, a lot happens simultaneously. Keep your eyes on the 4 results here on the page, and let me refresh. Notice how those changed? This is because the moment that you run your query, Google is going to grab the list of advertisers who want to display ads for this term. Google's going to look at the cost each advertiser wants to pay, and then they're going to get them in a bidding war until the top bids are identified. Next, Google will apply a quality score to the bid, and this score is determined by the keyword's click-through rate, the relevance of the ad, prior keyword performance, and even the keyword focus on the landing page itself. The number that comes out determines who wins and who shows up in which slot for what cost. Now, display advertisements are banner ads or even these same text ads, but they're shown on someone else's website, not here on the Google result page. And you might encounter these as you browse the web. Let me show you an example. I'm here on thecoffeecompass.com. Now, display advertisements are banner ads, or even these the ad, prior keyword performance, and even the keyword focus on top bids are identified. Next, Google will apply a quality score to the bid, and this score is determined by the keyword's click-through rate, the relevance of the ad, the number that comes out determines who wins, click-through rate, the relevance of the ad, even the keyword focus, the keyword's click-through rate, the relevance of the ad, prior keyword performance, and even the keyword focus on the landing page itself. The number that comes out determines who wins and who shows up in which slot for what cost. Now, display advertisements are banner ads, or even these same text ads, but they're shown on someone else's website, not here on the Google result page. And you might encounter these as you browse the web. Let me show you an example. I'm here on thecoffeecompass.com, which is a coffee blog, and as I scroll down, you'll notice that I've got an advertisement here on the right-hand side, and it's an image. And this advertisement comes from Casper, and it's being shown to me because I went to their website previously. So this is a remarketing advertisement. Let me show you another example. Here I'm on the Huffington Post, and you can see another display ad, but in this case, it's a banner here at the top of the page, and another ad on the right-hand side of the page. Now you'll notice that I'm on a page about grilled cheese, and this ad is offering me cheese lover recipes, which presents a great example of how targeted you can get with display advertising. In this case, this advertiser has decided they want to show their ad on websites that are talking about cheese, and they can even refine which sites they want this ad to show up on. Display is great for remarketing and even brand awareness, but it's harder to generate a direct response. Now, most display ads are going to be shown to a very relevant audience, but that audience may not be expressing intent or even purchasing behavior. I may simply be here to read about this grilled cheese, and I'm not really interested in any cheese recipes. Now, throughout this chapter, we're going to look at the basics of setting up both search and display ads using the Google AdWords platform. You can still follow along if you plan on using Bing or Yahoo, as many of these concepts are similar, but the platforms will vary. Now, Google has the majority market share, and it's where I recommend that you start.